This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, good evening, brothers and sisters. The fight goes on. Ain't that the bloody truth? And tonight, Spiros will be joining us. Got a few questions from you that you've sent in over the last week or so that you'd like to get him to answer, and we will endeavour to get to that in the not-too-distant future. There has been some disappointing news today out of Canberra. Dan apparently has been arrested again. Something to do with a kayak. Don't know the full story of it at this stage, but I'm sure I will get to the bottom of it by this time tomorrow night. I'll have a bit of an idea of what's going on. It's unfortunate because I was actually going to be there this morning at the Canberra stand. We got caught up with something else, and by the time that was finished, I would have walked into it in the middle of it, which is a bit rude. So I didn't feel like I should do that. Otherwise, I would have been there to witness whatever happened. But I will endeavour to find out what has happened. I've only found out in the last half an hour or so. So we'll try and figure out what's going on there. Hello, Melissa. Lovely to see you. And Tony, you've got an interesting question. Have you heard about what they're doing at the end of this year, going house to house, armed forces to vax every person willing or not? The only country I've heard that that's going to happen in, Tony, is New Zealand. Maybe that's where you are. I'm not sure. Haven't heard that they have stated that as a fact of things that they're going to do here in Australia. If they were planning to do that here in Australia, I think they are going to cop a lot of resistance from a lot of people, and more than you might assume. And they wouldn't want to just be turning up with one or two officers. They'd want the army in some people's cases, I would have thought, because people aren't going to allow that to happen to themselves, regardless what the government claims it has power over us to do. And in fact, we will talk a little bit tonight with Spiros about that if we can get through my list of questions, or more to the point, if he can actually click on the link and join us. That'll probably be the big thing. Hello, Aussie Sue. Lovely to have you in again tonight. Bulls Nuts is in. I haven't seen you around for the last couple of shows anyway, or maybe I just haven't been looking. Laurie, thank you for coming in too. Kate, lovely to see you. Paul's back in the house. Nice to see you too. Michelle, hello to you. And Hans. Who else have I missed here? Peter. Gee, I used to work with a guy called Peter Grace many years ago. I don't think he was in Pinaroo though, Pete. The Peter Grace I worked with was working in Melbourne. Very great radio talent from years gone by. In fact, I don't think I'd be overstating the fact to say that Peter Grace was one of the first FM voices in Australia, particularly in Melbourne on Eon FM. That'll ring a few bells for Melburnians back in the day. The first real radio station I ever walked into. Hello, Eve. Lovely to have you on the show tonight too. Excellent. Far North Queensland, Tony. Right. Well, Tony, if you can furnish me with the report where you saw that they're coming to chase us all down by the end of the year, that bloody cloth-eared bent that runs Queensland might be in for more of a fight than she believes. Certainly more of a fight than she gets in the bloody elections, that's for sure. So, email me those details if you can, Tony, because I haven't caught up with that at all. Carl at vofhq.com. Yeah, there you go, Far North Queensland. Hope to see you up there in the next month or two, mate. Well, probably be more than a month. It's a bit wet up in Far North Queensland at the moment. But they have over half a metre of rain last week alone. So that'll make it a bit soggy. And all that roadworks that's going on between Mackay and Townsville. God. For folks who haven't driven Mackay to Townsville, it's on a good day, it's a 5-hour drive. On a good day. Last time I drove it, which admittedly is a fair while ago, coming up on 12 months, thereabouts. They had torn at least half of that up, and I believe in the ensuing 12 months, they've torn up the other half before fixing up the first half. So essentially it is now, the whole drive is more or less roadworks on and off. And now, after all this rain, those roadworks will be prolonged once again, because the biggest problem they have with roads up in far north Queensland is rain getting underneath of them. And obviously a lot of big transports, big B doubles and bigger on the roads up there. And they just get a little pocket of water underneath the asphalt, and trucks go over it, forms an air bubble. Next thing you know, it pops out a huge bit of bitumen. You've got a bloody great pothole. Hang on, Sue. Hang on. What's going on here? Guru was just saying we should all be prepared if you lose your channel. He was asking if anyone was prepared to carry on. Carry on what? Why would I be losing my channel? I'm lost, Sue. You've got me confused. Guru hasn't called me, so I haven't. I'm not au fait with whatever his issues are at the moment. He's been busy talking to the Americans, so I don't know. Apparently, he's a very busy man. He keeps saying he's a very busy man, and he's doing all these American interviews. Don't know what good they're doing to us in Australia, if I'm honest. But having said that, I'm not really watching them, so they might be doing all wonderful things. It's not that I'm got a problem watching them. I just haven't had the time. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Guru. Oh, everyone's channels. All right, not me. Hang on. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're going to try and take us all down. Yep. I would be very surprised if they didn't try and take us all down. That's why I have a number of different channels now. I'm unsure how many channels Guru's got, and I know Stop the Rot had on Facebook. I don't know how many followers, a couple of thousand maybe. He on Project Matilda, I don't know, same kind of deal I'm imagining, and he doesn't run a YouTube or a BitChute. I'm not sure that he runs a Rumble. For what we're doing, you basically got to have something up on everything. And in fact, in the next few months, I'll introduce you guys to something called Locals, something called DLive, a few other different platforms that we will go out and stream on, because a lot of these main ones are just going to curl up and die. We are actually working on in the background. Oh, God. Spiros is telling me that he's got the wrong link. Let me just type. I can't type and talk. Otherwise, I've got to try and type out the link again for him in a text, which is very difficult to bloody do, and try and keep talking at the same time. So I can't really send him a screenshot, can I? Which would make it much easier, but he can't click on that and make it work. You think these lawyers, they'd be right up with the technology if they've got to go into court and talk about it. Although, in Spiros' defense, he's not a lawyer. So I guess we can excuse him for that. And I'll just have to type in this little code here on my phone. Pardon me while I do this, folks. FJ. Okay, let's see if that works. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. Getting this link off to Spiros again. Yeah, so don't know what's going on in Guru's world. We don't talk nearly as much as we used to. Yeah, I get a lot of different reports. Right, yeah. Well, you know, I think I want to be diplomatic here. Some people are focused on numbers. That's what I'm going to say. Some people are focused on numbers. I guess it's important that we get the message out there. And I guess the more numbers that we have on our little screen here that, you know, says how many people are watching or how many people see the message, at least that's important to me. I'm more interested in you getting a message, if there is one to be got here, or at least getting a laugh out of the show, than I am focused on anything else about those numbers. I don't deliberately go out of my place to attract audience. You see, well, let's use Guru as the example at the moment because it's what we're talking about. I don't go out and do interviews on other people's channels. I don't go and be part of other people's, parades. I do that deliberately. There is a reason for it. I think it's a pretty obvious reason. But if you need it further explained, email me. I have done, I think in the whole time I have been doing Voice of Freedom, I think I have done one interview. I've had half a dozen requests maybe from different freedom movement people, but I don't do them. The only interview that I have done was with a lady who I met on Guru's show New Year's Eve, and she has a little channel that is called Get to Know You. So I did an interview with her just after New Year, just after I got back on my feet again. But that is the only interview I've done. I do that deliberately because, quite frankly, usually the only reason you go and do an interview on somebody else's channel is so you can pinch some of their audience. That's essentially what it's all about. There is a lot of that going on in this movement. There is a lot of people wanting to come on this show because they perceive that it has a large audience. I couldn't tell you whether this show has a large audience or not. I really couldn't. The numbers that I see are so hammered by YouTube that they are completely unbelievable. And Rumble is, less so. I do see bigger numbers on, I suppose, Rumble immediately than I do on YouTube. If you go and compare the shows, because I stream them on both platforms, you can go and have a look at the views on YouTube versus the views for the same show on Rumble. And quite often, in the early period anyway, the Rumble show has much more viewability, if you like, or many more viewers than the YouTube show. The YouTube numbers tend to pick up later. People watch the show not live, but might watch it over the next 24, 38, 48 hours, whatever it turns out to be. I don't follow them. Seriously, I'm probably the only YouTuber in the country who couldn't care less whether you watched me or not. I want to try and help, and if I'm not helping, then don't watch. That'll hopefully have me lift my game. There's no point in watching me, say, let's fight the good fight, and there's something happening. It's exciting. There's things happening. I'm not going to do that. If there's something to talk about, then yeah, absolutely, let's talk about it. I'm not going to tell you that I'm getting secret information or I know things, but I can't tell you. If I know it, I'm going to tell you. That's why they don't tell me shit. They know I'll tell you. We've had enough lies. We've had enough bullshit told to us, enough truth obscured from our sight. And now, there is very definite efforts going against us in trying to get our information out, to try and make people a little more aware of what's actually going on in our world. Now, how do we wake people up? Well, we just keep talking. We keep trying to offer them a little logic bomb that breaks their cognitive dissonance. There is no point in getting angry or upset. That is just going to be, self-defeating in the end for all of us. In fact, I found a little thing the other day, which if I can find it here, here it is. Don't gloat. If you haven't had the juice, stay humble and don't gloat. There's a lot of people out there who are now regretting taking it, and any smugness they had is now turning into dread. Just be grateful you had the eyes to see, and always remember pride comes before the fall. I think Anthony O'Flynn and that message should be burned into all of our minds. It should be at the forefront of our thoughts as we go forward, because there are going to be so many people who are going to be angry, going to be feel quite violated, and quite rightfully so. They will quite rightfully feel violated. But it is what it is, I guess. So I think if we can band together, help with our knowledge. We don't want to force our knowledge on people. We are certainly not in the business of theorizing about conspiracies. Everything that we talk about can be proven. Everything we talk about can be proven. And given a fair and balanced judicial system, we wouldn't have any of these problems. But of course, we don't have anything remotely like a fair or balanced judicial system. And this is in part something I was going to talk to with Spiros tonight, provided he can figure out how to get on the StreamYard thing. But we'll live in hope, wait in hope. So yeah, there is a lot of people who are slowly waking up. Their eyes are slits when it comes to opening at the moment, but they are open. They are letting in a little bit of information. Please, just because you are a fountain of knowledge about this, please do not hit those newbies who are just opening their eyes with a fire hose worth of information. All right? They can't accept it. You're just going to power red pills into them one after the other, and they will not be able to accept it. They will retreat further into their shell, and we will get nothing achieved. So we don't want to scare them off. We want to welcome them in, and that's where my place, at least in my book, comes in. Because with my place, we're all reading the same book, all right? You can come and have a conversation. It doesn't matter whether you're just on the preface of the book or in the last chapters, let's call it. It doesn't matter where you are in the book. If you come to my place, you'll be able to talk to somebody else who will enlighten you in a way that isn't going to be a violent red pilling. Because I've found in my places that I've visited, and I've been to quite a few, that everyone, without fault, everyone in there wants to help. They want to help you. They want to help their community. They want to help themselves to a better life. And that's why my place is so important. We need a my place in every town, in every suburb, in every city of this country. And just because somebody else might have started one across town from you doesn't mean you can't start one in the town or on your side of town. And that's, I hope, what we will be focusing and achieving this year with the Voice of Freedom, getting on the road and creating my places, not just because I think my place is a great idea from, a community level, but it's also a brilliant idea on a national networking level. There are nearly 70 my places now in Australia. In fact, I'd be surprised if there aren't over 70 of them now. So that is going to be key for us. Now, if you're starting to feel a little left out, that you haven't got one in your part of the world, please get in touch. Please get in touch. We need these my places all over the place, and we will come to you. We will promote you. We will help you develop networks with other my places. I've moved on from Canberra at the moment, and I've called into Shireen Gary's place. We're going to stay a few days. I'll be going into the Cali at Singleton to have a bit of a chat there. We might even try and do the show from there maybe tomorrow night. And the hope is that we're going to catch up with the wonderful folks at the Donkey Sanctuary as well, but we've got limited time, so we'll see what we can squeeze in and how much we can squeeze in. But the fact is, we're going to build these communities all over the place, folks, and Singleton has one. Newcastle has just got, I think, cracked 400 new members today for their my place. That is unbelievable. And in fact, as Australia Day is coming up, and I did hear through the grapevine that Guru mentioned I was going to be in Canberra for the Australia Day celebrations and the Unite in White that's happening there. Unfortunately, I won't be in Canberra for that because I'll be heading further north. However, there is an Australia Day thing happening. I can't tell you too much more about it at the moment, other than there may be a friendly Australia Day game of cricket happening. And if that happens, it might happen between a couple of my places. Early days. Don't know if we're going to get the team together yet, but we'll see what happens. There could be an Aussie Day game of cricket, and I might even get the camera gear out, and I'll pretend I'm Richie Benno for the afternoon. Who knows? It could be a fairly interesting time of it. Spiros has managed to find the correct button to click and joins us. G'day, buddy. Nice to have you as part of the show.
G'day, mate. How you going? Sorry.
No, that's all right. You're a busy bloke, and I think when I typed it out to you initially on my phone, I gave you a spelling error. So I do apologise.
Oh, good. It was your fault.
Yeah,
actually,
it was my fault.
It wasn't your fault. It was my fault. My stupid phone went off Chrome or Google. Anyway, I fixed it.
All good. All sorted. All good. Thank you, Kate, for your contribution, mate. It's been a busy week. We've got a few questions in from folks who've got some interesting life challenges being presented to them. So I guess before we get into those, can I ask you a couple of questions? Common law has been in the news a lot lately. There have been people dragged out of cars and put before courts and all that sort of thing. Where do you stand with this whole common law argument and the different types of common law that are being propagated at the moment, bearing in mind that we run a Magna Carta 1215 education course every Monday night here? So where are we at with this? The mainstream media are running a fairly interesting sort of narrative around sovereigns or sovereign citizens. You can't be a sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron. But the mainstream media are running a narrative that is, well, incorrect if you actually know anything about common law, but you wouldn't expect any of them to. Where do you stand with all of this? You know, what are these people doing? Are they helping? Are they hurting? Do they have a hope in hell of winning anything in court?
Well, from my personal experience with people that are getting into the courtroom and saying all sorts of funny things, the problem you have in this world is that if you only have a little bit of knowledge, it's dangerous. And but I'll say this: common law overrides everything, and the Constitution and the Magna Carta override everything on top of that. So what they're feeling is absolutely correct. All that's happening is they're just doing it wrong. It's as simple as that. They're not understanding. They haven't got a full grasp. They've got half a story, and they're getting in there with half a story, and they're getting smashed about. Some of them, I mean, every now and then, one or two of them, a little shrewder than the others, might actually get away with it. But at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. You're a free person in a free country, and anybody who tells you different is lying or trying to sell you something. So when people understand that, then they're not going to have too much trouble dealing in a courtroom. So I think first off, anything on the mainstream media is a complete fabrication. It's a good rule of thumb. If whatever they're saying on the mainstream media, you just reverse it, because that's probably the truth. I don't have a TV for that reason. I haven't had one for years, and it's the best thing I ever did. There's just nothing honest on there. It's one big giant scam, and the sooner people take control of their lounge rooms, the better we're all going to be. But that's my view. My view is that those who are going into court and making and losing are probably got it half right. You know, I don't have any difficulty, but that's why, because I usually like to know what I'm talking about before I get into a courtroom.
Most of the arguments seem to, in the last few days anyway, seem to have raged around jurisdiction. What is that argument all about?
Jurisdiction, generally speaking, means what right are you in the right court? Are you in the right court? Because certain cases need to be in certain courts. Simple cases can be in really low courts, including quasi courts. Quasi court is almost a court, not quite a court, sort of like a court, likes to think it's sort of a court, like VCAT in Victoria. VCAT's not a court, but it it's a quasi court. But the biggest mistake on the issue of because this is a really good question, by the way. On the issue, it's very deep, deeper than you think. On the issue of jurisdiction, I think it's not so much jurisdiction that people need to focus on. I think people need to understand this. When you walk into a courtroom, if it's a proper courtroom, the judge isn't anybody you're interested in. The whole point of a free system and our legal system is there are supposed to be 12 people that look just like you, just like me. And they're supposed to be sitting there and they're supposed to be looking at you and you're supposed to be talking to them. And if you're not, you're in the wrong jurisdiction. It's as simple as that, because you're in all sorts of trouble. You're in all sorts of trouble if you don't understand that you can only be tried by 12 of your peers, no one else. And if you do find yourself in a courtroom and you don't have 12 of your peers sitting there, then you got to question the jurisdiction. You got to say, so, who are you and what am I doing here? Why am I here? Who are you?
That leads me to this that was sent in from Peter. His question is, if I were to go into a courtroom and plead not guilty, and then it went to trial, and I walked into the courtroom and said, where's the jury, would that be considered a mistrial?
Yeah, 100%. I wish there was something more than 100%. I'd say that, but there's only 100%. But if there was 150%, it's 150%. I mean, this guy's got it right. He's got it right. I mean, jeepers, well done. Snaps to him.
He also says a friend went to court and the magistrate put her in contempt of court and locked her up for 7 days. Could that be considered a mistrial as the magistrate has already dealt a judgment without a jury?
Well, I don't know. That one we'd have to look at what exactly happened there because it's too brief. You know, to be held in contempt, you really need to be doing something that insults the court that you're in, because the judge is a referee. The judge is a referee. That's what the judge is. Anybody who doesn't understand that doesn't understand what a courtroom is. And you're getting people getting all confused. They walk into a courtroom trembling in their boots because there's some guy dressed in fancy dress sitting, 3 or 4 meters above them, and they think, oh my God, it could be God. It's not God. It's the referee. The only person you need to be worried about are the 12 people sitting in the jury box, because in this country, this is a free country. In a free country, one man can't judge another. One man can't judge another because we're all equal. The only person who can judge you is 12 people just like you. That's it. Beautiful. And if you haven't got that, you're in a world of pain.
Glenn has sent in a question. He says, can you tell us about the CQV Trust? Is it real?
What's the CQV Trust?
The SESQQV Trust, established in 1666, I'm led to believe. It's supposedly the slice of the wealth the nation gives you at birth. And this leads, I dare say, I think I've got another question down the list which asks about, from the same guy. Can you explain the argument around the birth certificate and the straw man? So the CQV Trust works in league with the birth certificate that parents fill out at birth. That birth certificate then translates to your CRN number, which follows you for life and is the access point to the CQV Trust. The CQV Trust being the money you awarded at birth, and that's what every corporate entity bills against us. So if your name if you have a bill turn up from Telstra or for anybody and your name is in full capitals, it indicates you have been capitalized and that bill has already been paid through your CQV Trust. What they are doing is hitting you again and getting you to pay it twice. So you're unaware of the CQV Trust?
No, I'm not unaware of it. I'm just wondering what the hell people think it is. I just was curious as to what you guys think it is. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you in simple English so that we can all get our brains straight. When a person, a real life person like me, when I walk into a bank and I want to do business with that bank, I understand that I'm walking into a business. And I understand that in order to do business with that bank, I have to do it on agreed terms. Now, because I'm walking into their business, they dictate the terms. If I don't like those terms, I can go to the next bank. That's freedom of choice, freedom of trade. Now, what happens when you wake up one morning and every single thing outside of your front yard is a corporation? Well, what happens is every transaction you perform, you're performing with a corporate entity. Now, if you don't know that, you're going to be in trouble, because you're going to imagine that you're doing business with not a corporate entity, and that's just wrong. For example, you walk outside of your front door, you go to catch the bus, corporate entity. You're walking, you go to the post office, corporate entity. You go to any reserve that the council claims it has control over. Well, the council is a corporate entity. So your driver's license was given to you by a corporate entity. Your registration of your vehicle was given to you by a corporate entity. The milk is being delivered by a corporate entity. These are all corporations. Now, the mistake that people are making that I can see is that in their heart, that's not what they believe. In their heart, they believe they're in the good old days. The good old days when you had an executive government that ran a civil service, when things were when there was a government that ran a civil service, a proper government, let's say back in before 1958, when there were public servants. That's different. What we've got now is corporations. Because they're corporations, they just operate, they make the rules. It's exactly the same as what happens when you go onto Google or your phone. Now, your phone's not a public phone. It's not owned by an executive government owned by the Queen, for the people, by the people. Your phone is controlled by a corporation. Now, it's a big corporation, I give you that. Same with the power, same with your water, and there's the difficulty. So this thing that you're referring to, which goes by another name, I know it by the name corporation, because there's only two types of entities you're allowed to be in this country. You can be a human being or you can be a corporation. That's it.
Yep.
There's no third entity. That's the two choices you got. So either you're dealing face to face with a human being, or you're dealing human being to corporation. Now, if the corporation wants to send you letters as capital letters, if they want to address you as a number, as if your customer number, they do that. They actually, in some of your invoices and bills, you'll be called customer number 7272726. Well, that's their system. That's all. That's just their system. It's got nothing to do with you. So anybody who thinks that they're entitled to some money whilst they're operating in some corporate system, well, then you better teach me that one, because maybe I'm entitled to some money, but I'm not aware of it. And I don't understand it at all.
I listened to an interview today about a fellow who said that he had decided to enter into a limited contract with, I think it was New South Wales Roads, about registration and licensing, and that he agreed to pay his registration, and he agreed to pay for his license, and he agreed to pay for his insurance. But he didn't agree to be enjoined with anything else that was implied. And you mentioned before about these corporations. You go to the bank's going to offer you a deal, and if you don't like the deal, go to another bank. A lot of people are discovering that the banks are not telling the whole truth about the deal that they offer you. And in fact, many cases have been won by taking the banks to court and asking them to prove that they have the ability and the stature to do what they have actually done. So the banks take liberties. There are secret clauses in contracts that the banks do not tell you about when you are signing them, and all sorts of little loopholes. So I think people have got some right to start questioning these sorts of things, don't they?
Well, some right. Yeah, that's an understatement. You have every right. In fact, if you've said a mouthful there, but I'll try and remember some of the stuff you said. There's one that I remembered: secret clauses. That's an interesting comment. But let me tell you this: there's no such thing as a secret clause in a contract. The whole point of a contract, the whole point of a contract is that it has to be absolutely understood by both parties. And if one party didn't understand it, if one paragraph in a contract is not understood, that paragraph is void. If another paragraph is not understood by both parties, that paragraph is void. In short, contracts begin in the mind and then end up on paper, not the other way around. Anybody who tells you different is lying or trying to sell you something. So everybody has a right to understand their contract. And if you believe that there's something in the written contract that you didn't understand when you entered into that contract, that's a problem for the other side, not for you. Not for you. Because the onus is on the other side. That would be the bank. The onus is on the bank to prove in a court of law that you understood every single paragraph. And if you didn't, that is a fundamental problem in your contract.
Absolutely. Another question sent in from Paul. During lockdowns, police issued millions of dollars in fines only to be cancelled. Why? Because the law was wrong. So the government does make up laws against the Constitution. But my follow-up question to that, and Paul, you're right, they do just make laws up and hope we don't notice it. My follow-up question is, if you suffered during the lockdown process, you paid one of these fines, and I know a lot of them have now been returned, so to speak. But what about the mental anguish that you would have gone through when you were being issued with these fines? You were abused, manhandled, assaulted in some cases by police. Is there a legal recourse for being dragged through, I guess, the stress of a lead up to a court case only? And we are seeing this in so many cases related to mask wearing, but I also think on a deeper level, particularly with a case you and I are very familiar with, where they are going to drop these cases right at the death knell walking into trial. But they've put people to huge expense, broken families, broken bank balances, all in the interim period. And yet they get to court, and before you get to walk in and put a nail in their coffin, they say, oh, we're withdrawing the charges. Is there a legal recourse to go at them after they've done that to you?
Shit, yeah. That's called suing. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody for the past 2.5 years. And believe it or not, I shouldn't be so smug because I'm a knucklehead too. It didn't sink into my head. Until just before COVID, the nonsense started, when I went to have a look at a fella called Jeffrey Robertson. Now, you'd be familiar with him. He's a grey-haired old fella, who used to have a TV show called Hypotheticals. He was a very celebrated, I think he's Australian. He's gone over to London. He's a celebrated barrister and Queen's Counsel over there. And he had his own TV show, Hypotheticals. And I used to like watching it, just for a laugh. And I remember him saying, because he was talking about sexual harassment, and the words that came out of his mouth, because somebody said, what should people do? And this is Jeffrey Robertson, and he says, you should sue. That was it. I thought, well, that's it. You should sue. Why? Why should you sue? Because that's the correct thing to do in a civilized country. And understand this. Number one, you don't have a government, so stop calling it that. Start calling it what it really is. It's a corporate government, which is a pretend government. It's not a real government. It's not a government. It's a corporate government. So this corporate government has no more power than you do. None. These security guards masquerading as police officers, they're not. They're security guards hired by a corporation masquerading as police officers. They're not police officers. They're not constables, right? They don't have any more power than you. What does that mean? If any one of them lays a hand on you, it's assault. If any one of them smashes your car window and drags you out of it, it's assault and battery. There's a string of offences that have occurred. A string of offences. Now, I shouldn't have to be telling people this. This should be stuff that every human being understands. That you are a free person. You can't be accosted by police in a free country. Not in a free country. In China, yes, fair enough, because they got some other system there. But we live in Australia, and in this country, we are free and we are sovereign. Now, that's just not some technical term. See, I know what it means. What it means is nobody can lay a hand on you without probable cause. Do you know what that is? There's only three reasons why anyone should interfere with you, including if they're wearing a uniform with a badge and a bullet and a belief. And that is, A, if you're actually in the middle of committing a criminal offence. B, if you're on your way to committing a criminal offence. And C, if they're investigating a criminal offence. That's it. There's no D, there's no F. No, there's three. Now, those three make perfect sense to me, and they make perfect sense to everybody else who hears them. So if you're ever interfered with by anybody in the street and you're not committing a criminal offence, then they are. And that's the irony of it all. They are. Absolutely. And you need to turn the tables around and say to them, go away, or I'll have no alternative but to charge you, because you're interfering with my quiet enjoyment of my life. I'm a free person in a free country, mate.
H-Bomb's got a question. Does anyone need to reapply for the class action after the PAC site was hacked?
Yeah. I bloody got hacked. Anyway, it happens. It's going to happen all the time. That's it. So the answer is yes, I'm sorry. As quickly as I found out, I opened up my own private one that's got my picture on it. Be careful, because it's easy to get my picture nowadays. You can put it nowadays. You can get it on the internet. I'm everywhere, and someone might put it on their page. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to defend myself against these sorts of things. If people want to set up pages and pretend they're me, or pretend it's my action, I don't even know how to stop them, because I'm dealing with corporations. If I ring up Google and say these people are pretending to be me, I don't even get anybody. I get some computerized response. So look, it's just going to be one of the problems we're going to have. I don't know how to solve it, mate, unless you've got some solution. But at the moment, I've told everybody, well, as many people as I can, I've told them what my actual website is. There's a little photo of me on there. If people are concerned, I don't know how to solve it. I don't know how to solve it.
I'll introduce you to somebody who might be able to give you an idea about some web security for you. The good thing about this is that while we're talking about hacking, though, you're not taking any significant information from people. You're not taking driver's licenses or passport numbers or bank account details, are you? So that sort of detail hasn't been hacked.
No, no, we're absolutely safe there. What's actually happening is the very first one that when I first set it up, there was a guy who volunteered to build our website. Now, I should have known better. I mean, that's a warning sign straight up. But anyway, I said, you know what? That's really decent of them. And they were highly recommended. Somebody, a friend of a friend said, this guy is prepared to do it. He's a great guy, la, la, la. Well, I said, okay, that's great. And then I started sending him information to put on the website. When he wasn't doing it, when he was typing his own stuff, I immediately put a stop to it. Unfortunately, by the time I put a stop to it, thousands of people had already emailed that website with that address, giving their details, saying they wanted to join the class action. I don't know who any of them are. This bloke, he snaffled them all. He refused to hand them over to us. And so for all those people, if they're upset at me, I mean, fair enough. But I don't even know. I don't know you sent me the emails. So I guess everybody just has to start. It was a false start. We just have to start again. But my biggest fear now is I've already spotted 3 class actions, virtually cooked exactly the same as the one I'm running. One of them is somebody I actually know. So I'm going to ring him up and say, what you on about? We're already running a class action. Why would you run an identical class action when there's already one class action, you knucklehead? But the other 2 I don't know. So I think it's a very good way of destabilizing. I think it's a good way of destabilizing us, and I guess I'm copying it. It's about time. I've dodged a lot of bullets, but this one's got me.
Look, hacking happens. That's cool. I understand that. H-Bomb raises another question. Just wants to make sure that you don't have to repay the $100 donation, if that was the case. I imagine, though, I don't think the $100 donation was being taken on that website initially. I think it was just taking all your contact details, or am I wrong in assuming that?
No, you're correct. In the beginning, we just wanted, I mean, I didn't know if anyone was going to be interested. I didn't care because, I just sued anyway. I'm suing. Yeah. It's too late. I'm already doing it. So I didn't really care. But no, originally, all we were looking for was people to touch base, tell us their story. And I just wanted to get a feel of whether I was dealing with 100 people, 1,000 people, or whether I was dealing with 100,000 people. And judging from that reply, it was the latter. And I think clearly there's hundreds of thousands of people in Victoria that have suffered drastically. I mean, a lot. So they're the ones I guess need to find me. If they haven't already started their own actions, which is, if they have, that's great. It's a shame because it's going to be expensive running it on your own. But for those that haven't, then great. They got me. Last
people
resort.
Can find the website, the right website. If you go to Voice of Freedom, VoFHQ.com, it's on the front page, and just click on the link. It'll take you straight to the right web page, and you can be part of all that. If you've lost considerable, well, any amount really, over the pandemic, lost a job, lost a business, lost a family, as long as there's a financial loss to you, then Spiros might be able to help. And being part of that class action, I think, is going to help a lot of people out going forward. I've got a few more questions here that have come through. What happens to people that have been convicted of minor crimes and have spent time in jail if the laws are not law, Spiros? So this, I guess, dates back to what we were talking about, acts and bills.
Well, you're not going to believe this one. Well, mate, that's another amazing question. Talk about Pandora's box. The listeners are coming up with some good ones, but you're not going to believe this answer. since 1960, as best as I can see, the people that are in jail are in there voluntarily.
Wow.
As best as I can see. As best as I can see. Because if I'm right, I'm right. And the laws under which they were convicted. Not all of them, because some of them, like, you know, murder is a murderer. I mean, trust me,
Sure.
that law was that's an old law. That one there was way before the Constitution. That was illegal. But
Yeah.
but some of the more modern ones that are not laws at all. What happened to people, as far as I can see, I'm trying to unravel how did this happen. And from every piece of evidence that I can see, this is what happened. People received a charge and summons in the mail. They attended a court. They agreed to have the matter adjudicated, tacit consent, as far as I can see, because nobody explained to them what was going on. They just assumed it was a law. They assumed they were in a court of record. And because they were there and because they appeared to agree to be involved in a proceeding, the proceeding went against them and they agreed to their punishment, which was be accompanied by the police officers to the nearest jail.
House
And
of detention, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speechless. I don't have an excuse for how this could possibly happen, except to say that it did. It did. And with the exception of the real bad guys who they belong there, there are people who probably ended up there that when you look at it now, they had themselves a good lawyer and yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Have a look at the law. It's not even a law. Have a look at what they allege was the law you broke, and you may be surprised that it's not a law at all. And then you can ask yourself, then how come I was put in jail?
Yeah.
And that's the best answer I can give, is that they just convinced you to walk into the jail cell and stay there for a certain period of time.
Yeah. Mike's pointing out that those in jail are actually slaves for the Freemason machine, and they make a lot of money out of jails.
He's right about that.
That's the truth.
He is so right. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how right he is. It's embarrassing because how stupid are we that we've allowed all this to happen? And I say we because, hello, who am I? I'm part of the machine too. I'm a knucklehead. I'm 62 years old and I woke up 2 years ago. I mean, what was I doing for 60 years? For 60 years?
Think we're stupid, Spiros. It's not stupid. This has been designed to be kept from the forefront of our knowledge. It's been hidden from us. They've deliberately hidden it from us.
No, I beg your pardon. You're correct. I apologize. You're right. I'm not stupid. I'm stupid if I continue to do it. So I'm not continuing to do it. So I've learned when you know better, you do better. That's what my mum used to say. But you are correct. What happened is I fell for it. I wasn't paying attention. I saw it all happening. I was there. When Golf Whitlam did what he did. But you know, unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention, and this is the outcome.
They give us so much to distract us so that we aren't paying attention. In fact, that probably leads me well into this next question. You recently said on another show that I saw you on that a lawyer has a responsibility both to his client and to the court. So who comes first for the lawyer? His responsibility to the client or his responsibility to the court?
Well,
bearing in mind that we are now verging on the language of turnip.
Yeah, we're speaking turnip, not English. But no, here's the deal. Originally, before the corporation took over, before the corporation started playing this game, your solicitor, his loyalties were predominantly to you. He had, like a doctor, he had a fiduciary duty to protect you, to do the right thing by you. When the corporations took over, they twisted it. And now he has two hats. So what happens when the hats come into conflict? And you're like, yeah, who loses? Well, there's no surprises. If he goes against the court, they take away the license that he cherishes because they issued him the license. Remember what I said at the first question? The minute you walk outside your front door, you're starting to do business with corporations. You're not doing business with the Queen anymore. This isn't the Queen. So all the guilt you feel about arguing and fighting back, and you feel that because you think you're arguing against your Queen. And nobody wants to do that. We're decent. We're decent human beings. But I'm here to tell you, no, scream at the top of your lungs. You're not arguing against your Queen. You're arguing against these corporations, and you can kick them for all they're worth. You can kick them for all they're worth. In fact, you have the blessings of your Queen. So that's the problem. The problem is that's why I like me, because I'm old school. I only have one loyalty, always the same. Client comes first. Client comes first. That's how I got trained. That's how I did it.
Client conflict of interest, Spiros, these days. How can it not be a conflict of interest then, that the person representing you has to doff his hat in many different respects and does so in a different language to the one me, as the person sitting beside him in the dock or at the bar table, understands? I think he's saying something, but he's actually saying something else to the judge. Yeah.
Well, straight away, you know you're in trouble because he's talking to the judge.
Yeah.
This is the big one. If he wasn't talking to the judge, you'd already be in the best. You'd already be safe because that's the whole point. That's the part of the pantomime. That's the pantomime. People, your own solicitor isn't telling you you're supposed to have a jury, including a civil suit. Including a civil suit. I mean, including when you're suing your landlord. That should be a jury. This is what law is. Law should be you plead your case in front of people like yourself, like you and I are doing right now. This is what law is supposed to be. This is what law is supposed to be. Just normal people in a room acting civilized, pleading their case, and letting your fellow village people decide whether what you did was wrong or right, or who. You know, that makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense. It's like having a family meeting when the kids are squabbling, and I used to do it at my family meeting, right? Everyone in, and that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And pretty soon everyone said, oh, that's cool. We sort of resolved that. We didn't have to punch each other's lights out, which was the first thing we'd do. But so that's you are correct. You are correct. I'm embarrassed to say it, but it's true.
I'm not often correct, Spiros. Thank you.
Well, you're picking it up quick. Yeah, you're picking it up quick.
We're trying, mate. We're trying. Listen, I won't hold you up any longer. I know that you're a busy bloke, and we did wind up starting a little bit late. So all power to you. If people do want to be involved in the class action, then go to the vofhq.com website. You'll find the link on the front page there. It's very easy to find, and you can go and click through, have a read through, and whatever you want to do, you can go and do. Spiros, thoroughly enjoyed this chat. It's always enlightening to sit and chat with you, and thank you for taking questions from our viewers and our listeners today. I think, let me just check and make sure that I've got all of them. Have we used this one? Oh no, okay, righto. So this is probably a hairy one. My granddaughter was taken by child services from her drug addict mum, who neglected her severely and refused to let me and her son be the guardian. They're in the breach of the parens patriae. Is that how you say it? It's been over 2 years now. My son and I have been taken to New South Wales DCJ, the Children's Court, the Supreme Court under habeas corpus ad respondendum, and vexations. I don't know what that means. We caught the judge and the Crown Solicitor having an ex parte conversation. That's bad. The judge stood down. That's probably good. The Children's Court is still listing the granddaughter's case, and they're trying to stop them. Without more detail, I guess that's pretty difficult to give some sort of opinion on.
Well, I can give you an opinion from my own case, because we've got a rule you and I, we're not going to talk about it, but I'm happy to discuss.
I just lost your microphone there, mate. Just lost your microphone a bit. There you go.
Hang on a bit. Hang on.
Now
Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Sorry, I'm running out of charge. But whilst I think you and I agreed we're not going to talk about specific cases because it buggers up the whole point of our chat, I'm happy to talk about the general concept of what's just taken place. And I'm going to say this, and we might have to go into it in detail at our next chat. But there is an insidious plot happening at the moment, and I know who's behind it. And what's happening is there's a plan to destabilize families. They're snatching children. They're separating them from their parents. They are ignoring pleas from other family members to be given access to the children. The courts are appointing custodians, legal custodians, which effectively means the children are now under the control of someone who doesn't even know them, no family member at all, some employee of an executive corporation, and these kids are being spirited away. Now, I've got cases of my own. So when you started talking about yours, I have cases of my own. It's unbelievably horrible. It's unbelievably horrible. And once the children are in the clutches of these organizations, it's just like they've been abducted. It's as difficult for me to get those kids back as it is if your child was abducted and you said, Spiros, go find them in Bolivia or wherever the hell they are.
Yeah.
It's a whole week of it's a whole thing in itself, mate. It's a whole thing in itself. It's bloody horrible, and I feel dreadful for your listener for writing that note, because I'm almost certain I know exactly what world they're in, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
Do we see it changing anytime soon, Spiros? How do we fight
back?
Mate.
No chance in the world. No chance in the world. It's going to get worse. They're going to snatch children from parents and put them in grow-out tanks. I don't know. They're going to call them.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're going to call them. Orphanages, sheds. So the children grow up with not even a single parent. This is a systematic destruction of our society. The only way it'll be fixed is when good people like us, walk into a courtroom and shut these people down. I mean, It's probably going to be one of my class actions this year. In fact, you know what? Now that we've spoken, I've got revved up. I'm going to make this one of them as well. I had 5 or 6 class actions that I wanted to run this year. Hit them straight between the eyes. I didn't do this one because it's family court, and I just bloody hate family court because there are no winners. There are no winners. Everybody loses in the family court, and I hate going there. You know, it's just in your gut. I hate going there. But I think we might have to. I think we might have to get dirty and muddy and get in there and change this because they're kids. You know, they're kids.
The amount of correspondence that I receive from parents looking for help with various different government departments who are trying to steal their children from them, in some cases very successfully so. I'm staggered by the amount of correspondence I receive, and I'm getting tens of them a week, with a similar story. That the government is overreaching, taking kids when there are plenty of family members who have stepped up to do that, and they're all upstanding, fine members of the community kind of thing. There is something heinous going on in the background there, and we do need to get to the bottom of it.
Mate, I can tell you, Carl, it's me. It's me. I can tell you. It's a systematic plan. It's me. I'm speaking from my experience, not from a book I read or something I saw on YouTube. I know exactly what's going on. I was there when it began. I was there when they began and they created the nuclear family, which was mum, dad, and 2.5 kids. I was there when they changed it and they created single parent family. And here I am with the future, no parent family. I mean, what? How is that even? That's an oxymoron. Where's your family? You know, so it's you can control, you can't control an extended family, cousins, uncles, brothers. I mean, I had 3 brothers. Can you imagine? Nobody gave me any trouble at school because they're like, are you crazy? He's got 3 brothers. They'll stomp you into the ground. And I'm like, yeah, we would, because that's the rule of law. That's what happens in the school grounds, you know. But then when you shrink it down to husband and wife, it's a little easier to control. Then you shrink that down to a single mum with 2 kids. Very, very easy to control. Now, what hope does a little child have when it doesn't even have a mother? And then you're like, now you're in a world of pain. Now you're in a world of pain.
Yep.
As I said, we could do several shows on this madness, but on a positive note, you've given me one more class action for this year. When I say a positive note, just more work for me. So thanks, Carl. But I think this one's a good one. I think my heart will be in this one.
Mate, absolutely. It's something we have to fix. We can't let them continue doing this to our kids and to our families and tearing families apart. And whatever help we can give you here from the Voice of Freedom, we'll be all over.
No, we're going to sue, mate. We're going to sue. We're going to sue, and we're going to publicise the whole bloody thing. I told you that was our plan. That's what you and I are going to do. I'm going to sue, and you're going to publicise it, and that's the way it's going to rock, and everybody's going to watch it, and then we'll see what happens when the people get to see the truth. See what happens then. It may not. The worm may turn.
The worm will turn. We will turn the bastard, I promise you. Mate, thanks very much. Go back to your coffee and I'll let you go before your phone goes flat.
Yeah, it's about to go. All right. Yeah. See you next time.
Right, good to talk.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Spiros joining us tonight and answering the questions that you've sent in. Thank you to everybody who emailed questions through, who texted me questions. That's why I've got a whole bunch of handwritten, scribbled notes here in front of me because I didn't have time to take screenshots of them and suck them up into the whole system. Spiros, interesting bloke, and certainly if he's going to start a class action involving the family court, I think he's going to get a lot of support behind that. The bastards have to be made answer for what they are doing. Just before I go, folks, I just want to bring you something else. Can you spot the difference here? Now, this is how some of these scams are working. If you have a look at the 2 email addresses at the top here, one says maybank2u.com and the other one says maybank2u.com. Can you pick the difference? The difference is in the second email address, the A in bank is the A from the Cyrillic alphabet. And Citibank have done the same thing underneath here, you'll see as well. This is a filching or a straight out theft scam email, but that's what you want to be looking for, folks. Compare the A's. So the A in the English alphabet does look strikingly similar to the A in the Cyrillic alphabet, but that's how you will get caught if you are not careful and watch what's going on. So I thought I'd just drop that one up at the end for you as a bit of a warning. There are plenty of scams going around again. The phones, well, not so much mine at the moment, thankfully, but I know a lot of people around me recently have been getting scam phone calls, and there is a lot of bank scamming attempts being made. Contact your bank immediately. And then, of course, there is the mum, I've lost my key, or I've lost my phone, or I've broken something. Can you transfer money? And that, at least one of those people involved in that scam, I believe, has been caught in Melbourne. Fellow was tracked and traced and caught in Melbourne for that scam. So bloody awesome to do that sort of stuff. So just be a bit aware, folks. They're out there scamming. They're going to try and take as much of that fiat money off you as they can because they still believe it's worth something. Unfortunately, we have to believe it's worth something at the moment too until something better turns up, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. And in fact, for you, if you've got superannuation, it could well be sooner. Get your money out of big super. Get it into gold and silver. Take control of your wealth, because it is your wealth. If you leave it with big super and the market crashes, where do you think all that wealth is going to go? Well, it's not going to come to you, that's for sure. So consider it. And I've had, in the last week, I think I've been contacted by maybe a dozen people who are in the same boat as me, have very tiny super sums. And if you were to go and try and get it out and create your own self-managed super fund, you would lose the vast majority of what you have in super to fees. Well, there is a way around that, and it's by banding together with a bunch of complete strangers. And there is nothing to fear about banding together in this way for a self-managed super fund with a bunch of complete strangers. Bear in mind, you are banding together with a bunch of complete strangers in big super. You're doing exactly the same thing. You don't know the people you're investing with super with, and you're still getting your return, and your money is your money. You're not sharing that with everybody else. This works exactly the same way. So if you come in with me, for instance, I've got $25,000 in super. You've got $85,000 in super. Somebody else has 15. Somebody else has 150. Doesn't matter. You will get your value. I'll only get my 25. You'll get your 150. And everybody will get their individual portion. All this really does is save on the fees, the exiting fees getting out of big super, because people like us who have a small, tiny pittance of super, and in fact, I've given mine up, I had already given mine up as a government contribution. I never expected them to give it to me. But here is a way where maybe it can be turned into gold and silver. I'd much prefer to have the gold and silver in my pocket than in theirs. And there is a way that, and it is possible, to keep your gold and silver at home in your self-managed super fund. How, I hear you ask? Well, why don't you email me, goldandsilver@vofhq.com. When I say email me, I'm going to send that off to Cass Smith, because she's the lady that knows all about this inside and out. And Freedom Financial Solutions are there to help make this happen. They have helped thousands of people in the last year or so extract their super money out of big super. And if they did take that advice a year or a year and a half ago, that pile of gold and silver that they are now sitting on at home has gone up more and achieved a higher growth of wealth for those people than anything that happened in big super. That's where your return lies, in gold, in silver. And go and check the gold prices. Go and see what they've been doing, going up. Silver. Well, silver goes up, then goes down a little bit, goes up, goes down a little bit like, Bitcoin and all that sort of thing. If you are a Bitcoiner, I've heard a bit of news about Bitcoin as well. The people who are in Bitcoin that I know say the price is on the way up again at the moment. They expect it to drop a little bit. There might be a little stumble, stumble's probably a strong word. There might be a pause in the upward movement. Maybe that's the best way of describing it, before it goes up again. So that's just what I'm hearing from the people who are in Bitcoin. Never had enough money to get into Bitcoin. I'm not a gambler. I've always seen that as a bit of a gamble. I won't go and put $5 on a horse or a pokey. So sticking it in Bitcoin for me has always been a bit of a worry. And I've never really had any spare money to throw at it. So, I'm not in it, but that doesn't say I don't like it. I'm just not in it. And a couple of very good people in this movement who have been very good to me in this movement are in it, swear by it. And good luck to them. I wish them every success. I wish you every success. If you are in Bitcoin or one of those other XRP, that kind of thing, great. I hope beyond all belief that it's going to work out, and I wish I owned a couple. That's all I can say. Instead, I'm going to have to be content with my couple of silver coins and rolling around the countryside talking to folks like you. And I've got to tell you, nothing would make me happier. Very happy to be doing that. If you would like to help us get on the road and come and visit your place and get a My Place at your place, please do so. VoFHQ.com, go over onto the membership tag and join us. Become a member of the Voice of Freedom. We don't put anything behind a paywall. You're not going to get anything special, at least not yet. You will get discounts on merch and all that sort of stuff when we've got merch, and we are in the process of working that out. We've had no sort of, oh, God, don't get me started on T-shirts. But figuring it out slowly but surely, and I think once I get back to Queensland, we will have a much better idea of what's going on with there. But yeah, our members will get some discounts on merch and that kind of thing. And, you know, down the track, you never know what sort of benefits there might be of being a member. But the biggest benefit to us, at any rate, is having your $1.25 a week, if that's what you choose to donate, going into our petrol tanks, because that's what's going to keep us on the road. You can go to VoFHQ.com, click on that link and become a member. Or if you don't want to be a member, but you still think you might throw a few bucks our way, there is a donate button on the website. It wasn't working for a couple of weeks, so it is back working again now if you feel the urge to donate. Well, thank you very much. Love you for it. Speaking of people we love, Sunflower, thank you so much for your donation earlier in the show. I saw that one pop up, so I really appreciate that. Just having a bit of a scan down to see if there's any questions I can answer now without Spiros being around. Tasha Marie's got the right idea. Doesn't trust anything that needs electricity or the internet. Very good, dear. I'm with you on that one. In fact, I was only having a bit of a chat with Gary, Cherie's husband, earlier today, about what we would do in the event of a serious electromagnetic or CME event. That's sort of like a big sunspot that, you know, sends out a huge electromagnetic pulse from the sun and fries all our electronics on the earth. Trying to think, Gary's a bit of a ham radio fiend, has an amazing ham radio setup. Ham radio, of course, if you want to get into that, you need to be licensed. There are other forms of radios, but how do you keep them safe in an environment like that where every electrical circuit is going to get fried? So guess what we're looking into? Voice of Freedom Faraday cages. Yeah, all right. Might be getting carried away a bit, but it's an interesting conversation. So we'll bring you up to speed on that maybe when we have a little more knowledge on it. So, yeah, folks, I see I've started up a crypto chat in there. Good on you guys. Look, all power to you with crypto. You know, I just don't understand it. It's like me and spreadsheets. Anything to do with numbers. Just, I don't know. I'm kind of dyslexic that way, I think. It doesn't work. Anyway, folks, I'll let you go off and get back into your, what is it, Tuesday night. Hanging around Singleton for the next few days. Going to call into the Cali and see Brad. In fact, we might try and do a show from the Cali, just off the table out the back, and over a meal with a few people. We'll see what we can dig up there. And of course, Australia Day is coming up. I will not be in Canberra for the Unite and White celebration, as Guru suggested. I apologise. We will already be, well, floating around. There is talk there will be a cricket match on Australia Day. And if that comes off, I might nearly have to play. We'll see what happens. But I think a My Place inaugural Australia Day cricket match could be on the cards. Could be on the cards. Just got to see whether or not we've got any cricket players. We've bought the cricket set, so there is a chance. It's going to be a fun day, and I hope you can join us. Don't know what you're going to do on Australia Day, but whatever you do, celebrate right. And if you are on the roads, just make sure that you steer clear of those wonderful folks that we lovingly refer to as the dickheads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's